Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Saturday, May 1st, 2021. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to dive right into a 10-game NBA slate that will all take place this evening starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Here at Coach Talk, we'll be offering a main slate that will cover all 10 games. And then we'll also jump back in with an after-hours slate that's the two late games. So we would love to have you join us. Jump on in, dfscoachtalk.com, and we'll get you in there. You could choose one of our memberships. We have a 3-day pass that will for $10 that'll get you through the entire weekend and Monday as well. And lots of moving parts. You'll see there's tons of basketball news here. I mean, it's almost getting to be ridiculous how much basketball news is actually changing every day. I mean, 50 plus guys either in or out on a daily basis, which is really unusual. So it is absolutely imperative that we follow the news throughout the day and even through the slate. So whether you're a member or not, if you're going to play NBA DFS, you need to have access to the news throughout the day, before the first lock, and then throughout the evening. I mean, it's an investment of time, but it is the way to win in DFS NBA right now. I've been doing this for 6.5 years, and I can't remember a stretch where there was this much movement. Usually the last maybe 4 or 5 games of the season max. At the end, you'll get some craziness, but not quite to the level that this is. And we still have, teams have about a dozen games left. So it is going to be a wild, bumpy ride. But as I tell all of our members at Coach Talk, it gives us a big edge because we're following that news. We have a team that's, watching every single post of moves, who's in, who's out, who's on a minutes restriction, etc. And we're going to pass that on to you. So jump in Discord with us, dfscoachtalk.com. All right, let's dive in. We're going to go through these games. I'm going to give you a good feel for them and the news and everything. But as far as giving you strong picks, a lot of these games just have too many moving parts that haven't been decided yet. So, we will be posting some stuff on Twitter with our top buy-ups and our best value plays. But that'll be later this afternoon because we need all this news to drop in order to give you really good information. I mean, if I'm saying lock somebody in and there's 5 guys in that game, that could be in or out, either from the offensive or defensive side, it's strictly going to affect that game. So this will be great step one in preparing your lineup today. I think you can get some good skeleton lineups set up, get them, held in there, which I always recommend going in early, getting them set, and then making those changes later when it gets crunch time. All right, again, first game, 7 o'clock, Detroit Pistons at the Charlotte Hornets. Excuse me. Let me call up that one screen. The Pistons right now are 19-44. Charlotte is 30-32. And here's the news in this one. Out for Detroit, Grant, Okafor, Ellington, Joseph. Questionable for Detroit, Diallo. So all kinds of news shifting around minutes on that team. The big news of the day, really, LaMelo Ball is questionable. He may be back for Charlotte after that wrist, breaking his wrist was supposed to end his season. Tremendously quick turnaround, and he is back in the mix tonight, possibly. So we need to confirm that. Plumlee is out, so it's certainly Isaiah Stewart season again. I'm a big fan of his. And Monk is now questionable. So that changes the guard rotation there as well. Charlotte's on the first night of a back-to-back. Detroit, it's an island game for them, so I don't know why half their team is out. As far as the line, it's Charlotte -7 with just a paltry 214. From pace standpoint, not great, 22-19. Defense, a little below average, 16-20. Certainly not a target game as far as expecting numbers to blow up for you. But because of all of the guys out for Detroit, I think, the Isaiah Stewarts, the Sadiq Bays, maybe the Killian Hayes, Josh Jackson, you can consider all of those guys because they are shorthanded and could get some big run. Charlotte's not the best defensive team by any stretch, below average, actually. So, having a Detroit guy or two as just a super value play in a spot where they're going to get big minutes is not a bad play. On the Charlotte side, just way too much to find out yet. We need to know about Monk and Ball specifically. We'll just have to take it from there. Right now, I'm not looking to pay up for anybody on the Charlotte side. All right, we go to game 2. 7:30 Eastern. It is Golden State at 31-32 against the Houston Rockets at 16-47. The line, first of all, Houston's on the first night of a back-to-back. It's an island game for Golden State. Not sure if that matters that much with Houston at this point since they're playing all young guys anyway. But we have a big fat number here. It is Golden State -8, but it's 232.5. And interesting to see how our man Porter will do after dropping a 50 real point game. Hard to believe. Some good news here is they're the 2nd and 6th fastest teams in the league pace-wise. So that gives you a big highlighter mark on that one. And from the defensive efficiency, Golden State 9th, not bad at all. Houston down to 25th and falling. We do have news from this game as well. We've got Oubre questionable, Draymond Green questionable, and Pascal out. So based on those two, the news of that could make Curry and Wiggins and Bazemore all very, very highly in play here. Even 2 of the 3 may be a good move. And Curry, as a buy-up against this Houston team, is certainly a pretty good play. If Houston can keep it close enough, and Vegas only has it at 8, I think this could be one of those wacky games for Curry where he really goes off. But I do like some of the other guys for the Warriors with them being shorthanded if that's how it plays out. On the Houston side, House is out and Avery Bradley is questionable. So you've got your normal guys there that, we've been focusing on, Kevin Porter Jr. specifically. Wood is a good play if Draymond is out. Kelly Olynyk's been very steady, but his price has gone up. And Jayshawn Tate has been surprisingly good, but I think he and Bazemore will be battling a little bit, so I'm not going to go that direction. All right, game 3, 8 p.m. Eastern. Chicago Bulls at 26-37, Atlanta Hawks 34-30. You've got both teams on the second night of a back-to-back. So, we could see some shifting of minutes here. Certainly need the news because we had a lot of guys that came back from injury last night in this game. So we've got to watch this one closely. We've got, on the Chicago side, Levine remains out and Markkanen and Brown questionable. So, we need definitely to confirm that those guys are all in. Atlanta's even more confusing. Right now they have Bogey is questionable, Kevin Huerter is questionable, and we know Trae Young isn't 100%, although he did play and he's expected to play tonight. But will he play on a back-to-back? So definitely stay tuned for that. Capella's expensive, but I could see that him paying his price tag possibly tonight against Vuk. Vuk's not a great defender, but he will draw Capella away from the basket, which could cause him to miss a few rebounds. So not a lock play, but a guy that I'm considering. On the Chicago side, not really jumping out of my seat for anybody here. I think that, with Levine out, Kobe's been a decent play, and he's a decent play tonight, especially if he's getting Trae Young defense. So, we could go there. His price isn't too bad, but they are getting, good stuff from Tice and Vuk, and, some guys off the bench have done very well also. So let's not a game I'm going to focus on, but one I want to keep my eyes on the news. All right, next up, we have Miami and Cleveland. Miami on the first night of a back-to-back, and Cleveland on the second night of a back-to-back. We've got a double-digit spread here, which is a little concern, 11.5 favorite for Miami. The total is only 208.5, though, so I hate when it's double-digit and then a low total like that. That's usually a very big stay-away sign. And then to add to that, 29th and 24th in pace, no thank you. Defensively, Miami is fifth. They're very solid. Again, a reason to steer from the game. But Cleveland's 23rd. So the question is Miami going to have, be able to take advantage of that? And can Cleveland keep it close enough? I personally don't like this game at all. I think Miami could just be a smash here. We know Oladipo's getting closer, by the way. I read something that he could be back this week, so that'll give them a help down the road. Tyler Hero is out, by the way, and Gabe Vincent is probable. So they're in pretty good shape. They got their regular squad there. I think they could absolutely roll Cleveland here, and they do play a lot of guys when they roll somebody, and they have a game tomorrow night. So my best advice, without even going into Cleveland here, it's just not worth it. Pass this game. This is probably the most, bustable game here. That if you play anybody, even a one-off isn't safe. So I'm moving on. All right, next game on the board here is the New Orleans Pelicans at 28-35, Minnesota Timberwolves at 20-44. We have the Pelicans a 4-point favorite and a big fat 238 total. You got to love a 238 number. Pace 12th and 4th, respectively. Loving that. And then here's a nice little cherry on the top of the sundae. 27th and 28th defensively. I mean, that's bad. So let's talk about the stack possibilities in this game. This is a game that I think is going to be maybe one of the two most key games on the board. On the New Orleans side, we know that the big fella Adams is out. So do you dial up Willie Hernan-Gomez as a value play? Very possibly, especially since Cat is not a good defender. We do need the news, though, on who else is in and out, because Jackson Hayes is a lot more. He's much more quick. He can get out there and get Cat at the 3-point line. So it's a very good possibility that Hayes gets as much or more of a run than Hernan-Gomez. So that's an important factor. It's just not a plug-and-play Hernan-Gomez as the value center. I do think he'll still start, but we got to follow that news because that's a key element to this game. Lonzo Ball, possibly in play here. And then, of course, the two studs, Ingram and Williamson. I think it's important to have one of the two guys in this matchup that's going to be high-powered and high-scoring. We know that the Pelicans have lost a lot of depth to injury, with Hart and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and those guys being out for an extended period of time. So they do get big runs. So for me, it's going to be, is it Ingram or Williamson? I will have exposure to one of them. Then on the other side of the ball, you've got, I think, two studs as well that you can look at. And believe it or not, I'm not going to say Cat because I have some other centers I'm looking at. His price is stupendously high. But the two studs I'm talking about are D'Angelo Russell. Although he's still coming off the bench, he's getting 29 to 32 minutes and probably more in a close game. If this is a high-scoring close game, he'll be in there to finish it. And then, of course, Anthony Edwards. He's been wonderful lately. I mean, he's just been scoring the ball in stretches. He got off to a bad start. The last game I rostered him, and then he just went berserk. He had like 17 straight in the third quarter, and he is an explosive young man, 19 years old, ridiculous. So I'm going to spend some money, and I do like some of the big fellas here. Not going to totally unload the Brinks truck and go Ingram, Williamson, and Russell Edwards, but I will be definitely taking one of each of those so that I have strong representation from this game and then possibly a value play as well. So a key game. Okay, let's move on to the next one. It is, where are we at? It is 8 o'clock, Indiana and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This one is a pretty big number as well. It is Indiana by 6.5, 233 is the over-under. So you got to love that. Pace phenomenal, 5th and 7th. Defense slightly below average for OKC at 21, and Indiana's right at 14. But with all their injuries, their numbers have been going down. Not much news on Indiana. You might want to get a cup of coffee and a bagel by the time I read this Indiana news. But Goga questionable, Sampson out, Sabonis questionable, Brogdon is questionable, Lamb is questionable, and Turner we know is already out. So other than that, not much news that will change with Oklahoma City. You should feel real comfortable with that lineup. But let's just, I'm not going to go deep on this one because we need the news. But I will say that the guys for me that stand out are Karis LeVert. If this game stays close, he's just such a stud. Brogdon, if he plays, has been playing phenomenal basketball. He's very playable. The cheaper side, the two guys that have just kept paying off every time, except once with Sumner, but he's been solid. Edmund Sumner and O'Shea Brissett. Brissett's been a just lifesaver in a lot of these slates because his price has been good, but it has gone up, 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 and he is pretty expensive here. But if all those guys are out, I am not going to stop the Brissett train here because he's been that good. So, let's see what the news is. It could be a complete shift of guys there. If some of these guys are in without minutes restrictions, then they're going to be playable as well. So definitely stay tuned for that one. The big news on the Thunder side is Dort is out. So they're pretty much playing Dort every other game, trying to save him up, I guess. Make sure he stays healthy, better than shutting him down completely. With Dort out, it does open some things up and make a few guys playable here. Pokashevsky, has been okay, but usually gets a bump in minutes and usage when Dort's out. The guy that I've been playing a lot, but he's gone up in price, is Darius Bazley. He's been very steady. Those are two guys you can look at. Maladone, I guess, is an okay play if Brogdon sits, but because Brogdon's D is pretty tough. And after that, I don't think you have to go any deeper on a 10-game slate. So let's check the news, see if we can get one off from each side there. Would be ideal. Okay, there's 3 games left, and 3 games left, and we have an interesting one here. We have the 9 o'clock game, so it's not the after-hours game, but it does sit alone, so there'll be a lot of eyes on this one, and it's the Washington Wizards against my Dallas Mavericks. So very interesting game here. Dallas is a 5.5-point favorite, which is a little surprising to me, considering Washington's won, I think, 10 of 11 or something ridiculous, or 9 of 10. And Dallas is on the first night of a back-to-back, which is a concern because Carlisle's a mini pop. You never know what he's going to do. Washington's on the second night of a back-to-back, but Scott Brooks has been, doing a little Tom Thibodeau lately. Washington needs every win they can get to get into the playoffs, and they're getting a lot of them, but there's still 5 games. Even with that winning streak, they're 29-34. That's how far behind they were. And the fact that they're in that 10th spot to be in the play-in game is sort of amazing. I'm happy for Wizards fans because they've been so bad for so long. But second night of a back-to-back, Russ has been basically, Superman, superhero, whatever. He's been incredible. He's been playing a lot of minutes on the back-to-back. So I'm not sure, if that's a deterrent or not. The only problem is there's a couple things here. First of all, Washington's first in pace. So great pace-up game for Dallas. But Dallas is 25th and playing slower all the time. And that is a concern for spending all the money to pay up for Washington. On the defensive side, that's the thing that's made everybody talks Washington scoring. It's Westbrook and Beal that are doing it. It's their defense. They're up to 17th defensively, which is phenomenal. They were 29th, buried a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And every day they seem to move up a spot, move up a spot. They're almost to the middle of the pack. Dallas is 18th. They haven't been phenomenal defensively, but we do know that Luke is in. That's been announced already. Porzingis and Kleba are questionable. Big news there. That determines the rotation for Dallas. It changed the defensive presence for Dallas. So we need that news on those guys. Usually KP, when he, gets a hangnail, you can anticipate he'll be out 10 to 14 days. So I'm not expecting him, now to trim the nail and play the game. Let's just say that. So anyway, a little Mavericks negativism there. Sorry. But Kleba's important too. Kleba's an important entity for the Mavs defensively. He's their best interior defender, and they stink with interior defense. The sad thing is, usually one of my first plays every slate is the center against the Mavericks. Well, I can't play Len, Lopez, and my man Gafford. I mean, it's just such a stupid headache to have. Gafford should be the guy, but it is what it is. I'm not playing Alex Len. I'm not falling for that. I've done it twice this season, and you're not supposed to get fooled by something twice like that. So Len is so historically known for 40-point fantasy game, 5-point fantasy game. So see you, Mr. Len. You're not getting my ruining my night tonight. Even if you do well, I don't care. I don't want you. So I'm not going to play those bigs. The guy that I do like a little bit against Dallas is Hashimura, especially if Kleba sits, because he can post up a little bit, finish some at the hoop, draw the guy out, make a few shots. And I love his minutes. He's looking good, and his price is right. So Hashimura is in play. I've played Westbrook like so many times in a row, it's not even funny. And, Richardson's back, and I believe Richardson will guard him. So I actually like Beal a little bit better than Westbrook today. That's the first time for me. It's just, I think that the tougher matchup will be on Beal. If it's Hardaway or someone, Brunson or something, I think Beal's going to have a good game. Although when Brunson comes in off the bench, he'll probably go to Westbrook, and then whoever's in on the second team may switch to Beal. But it looks like a Beal game, and there's a lot of savings from Westbrook to Beal as well. So I do expect this game to be high scoring. Luka's issue with his elbow or whatever, I'm sure he's fine. Dallas needs the victory, but I don't believe I'm going to pay up for Luka just because he did miss the last game. It's the first night of a back-to-back. I don't completely trust Carlisle. And like I say, in the last, month, Washington has been, I don't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. They've been like 10th in the whole league in defense. So, that is a concern as well. So I'm not going to have as much exposure here. I think this game's going to get a ton of ownership though. But I do like some pieces, maybe a Hashimura or a Beal. And then not sure I'm going with anything on the Dallas side until I hear that news about Porzingis and Kleba. All right, we're going to go to the after hours slate, the two games. We're not playing around today, man. We're going through this. I also have to I promised I'd give my Kentucky Derby picks. I've been known to dabble in the horses for a few times through the years. So I will announce my Derby picks right here at the end of this podcast. Hopefully that will help somebody with a little surprise bonus there if you're playing the Derby. All right, we have two 10 o'clock Eastern games. The first one is Denver and the Clippers. We've got the Nuggets at 42-21, the Clippers at 43-21. So two teams neck and neck. It is Clippers minus 4.5, 222.5 is the over-under. Two super slow teams, so that's the concern, 26 and 27. So you can't get much slower than that. Defensively, they're average and better than average, 15th and 10th, another negative sign. We don't know if Kawhi's playing. That changes everything in the game, of course. He's questionable now. The only news that we know for sure is that Beverly's still out, Ibaka and Coffey are still out, and Morris and Barton are still out for Denver. But, the question is, does this game play at a high enough pace? And I'm very, very concerned about that. If Kawhi sits, you could go to a Paul George. It's worked out in the past pretty consistently. Marcus Morris becomes in play. If Kawhi's in, it sort of washes out the Clippers stuff for me. And on the Denver side, I mean, the Joker's always playable. I mean, if that's going to be your huge spend up. But if you've noticed as I've gone through this slate, I don't think I'm going to go with Westbrook, Luka, or the Joker today. I'm going to really try for the first time in a long time to not go stars and scrubs unless news breaks this afternoon that forces you that way. I mean, sometimes you have to do it. But I want to try to get more of a medium to medium high build. And instead of trying to get a guy with 80 and then a guy with 20, let's try for two guys that are going to get me 50 plus. So that's the goal right now, unless the news shifts me differently. So not a lot of exposure in this game, possibly one-off for sure if Kawhi sits. All right, we're wrapping it up. The last 10 o'clock game is the Toronto Raptors at 26-37 against the Utah Jazz at 45-18. We know that there's injury news here. Big thing for Utah is Conley's going to be back. He's been sitting one night of the back-to-backs. He sat yesterday, so he'll be in full gear and rested in this one. We also have Donovan Mitchell actually making the list as questionable to doubtful, but we need to hear for sure what the situation is there. I anticipate he's out. There was a long period he was supposed to be out. So I would say scratch him for now, keep him off that list, and Conley's back. For Toronto, Boucher, Lowry, Trent, and Watson all out. So that changes things quite a bit for their rotation. Certainly brings Van Vliet into play. The question is who's going to guard him. It's going to more than likely be Conley with him coming back. There are some value plays. Kem Birch has been terrific, but it's Gobert. But it is a back-to-back, so we'll see what happens there. Malachi Flynn's gone up in price some, but he's done well when Lowry or Van Vliet are out generally. And then on the Utah side, Conley certainly playable. He doesn't have much of a limits cap at all, if any, when he comes back from sitting out these back-to-backs. Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich could be decent plays, and Gobert if he plays a full run. But the question is, will he play the full run? And he's expensive. So not my favorite game. This after-hour slate is going to be very challenging for me because I don't like the late two games. For our members, I can tell you now, this could be my first 2.5 crowns game, 3 at the most, because I'm not going to have much exposure to these two late games in the main slate, which makes it a little bit tougher. How about a lot tougher to ratchet up a strong after-hour slate? But I'm going to be working on it, and we know news breaks throughout the day, so we'll see how that goes. All right, couple of things real quickly here. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, please click the thumbs up, the subscribe button. We're getting very close to an important goal for us with subs on YouTube. Would love to have you subscribe to us there. I looked at some of the analytics of YouTube, and only about a third of our daily viewers actually subscribe. So please take that extra step, click the subscribe, and then hit the little alert button up in the top corner. That'll let you know as soon as our podcast posts. We have 7-day-a-week NBA podcasts. We have a PGA podcast. And coming up next month, we're going to be adding some MLB podcasts as well. And then, when NFL comes around, you will also have all of their podcasts for us. One thing, when you become a member of Coach Talk, you get everything we've got. we're not, you have to pay this much for basketball, this much for baseball, on and on. You become a member, you're part of the family, you're in our main chat, you get all of our lineups, everything we provide, all of our sports, and we don't mess around with silly sports like, skydiving and cross-country skiing, dart throwing. I've seen some interesting ones, especially during COVID. We do the sports where we're pros. We're spending 24/7 after them, and it's baseball, football, basketball, and golf. So you're going to get those year-round with us. We'd love to have you join us. And all you got to do is go to dfscoachtalk.com. In about 20 minutes, we have a weekly meeting that we do at noon Eastern every week. Today, we're going to be talking about contest selection. So there's still time to jump into that. We're going to record it. So if you do join this afternoon, you can check that out. So really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to give you my Kentucky Derby picks as a bonus, the old coach, and I'm not giving you Chalk City here, okay? I'm going to give you my top 4 finishers, and I'll tell you what their odds are. From post 17, I like highly motivated at 10-1. So there you go. That's coach's winner. Second, I like from post number 14. I think he's going to be tough. He may go off the favorite or second choice, and that's Essential Quality. He's right now at 2-1. He probably will go up. I like him definitely in the exacta play. And then the third and fourth, I'll give you. They could make box card tickets, and I'm going for it here, and I think they have a chance to at least be in the money. Helium, number 12 at 50-1. And then this one you're going to laugh at, but I think he can close late. Bourbonic, number 20. Very tough to win from the 20 hole, but he's a dead closer. He just needs to get down to the rail and sit and wait anyway. He's 30-1. So there you go. No chalk from the coach. You've got a nice 10-1 winner, 2-1 second, and 50 and 30-1 third and fourth. So hopefully some of those come in somewhere for you. I'd love to hear some stories if you guys can take some stuff down. But join us. We'd really love to have you. And I will certainly be back here again tomorrow. I'm going solo on Saturdays and Sundays on the pod, and we will review the entire slate each day. So if you have any questions, post them here in YouTube. And if you're watching us on or listening, not watching, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, all the different outlets for podcasting, please take a second, give us a 5 stars, a thumbs up, a quick comment. All of that stuff helps us on all of those entities to move up the algorithm and get the listens out there to more people. So really appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in today. Have a phenomenal Saturday, May 1st. And hopefully you have some huge NBA cashes and even a couple bucks on the ponies. So appreciate you. Talk to you tomorrow. We'll be back again as we look to crush it in DFS and horses.